Quick breeze through. I read an article online at responsibilityproject.com about an attempted attack on a teacher in Waycross, Georgia by 9 students. The article went on to say how these students brought duct tape, handcuffs, steak knives, and paperweight to school to use on the teacher. What was interesting to authorities was how well planned out the act was, from assigning students to be lookouts at the windows and doors to who would clean up after. But what I couldn't believe was the ages of these kids. They were only 8 and 10 years old in the 3rd grade. All this because a teacher put them in timeout. Could this have been another case of trying to imitate violence on television? In a case study done at Pennsylvania State University, about 100 preschool children were observed before and after watching television. Some watched cartoons that had aggressive and violent acts in them, and the others watched cartoons that didn't. There were very real differences between the groups. Dr. Alita Houston, PhD at PSU, said, children who watched the violent shows were more likely to hit out at their playmates, argue, disobey class rules, and were less willing to wait for things than those who watch nonviolent programs. For example, the cartoon Family Guy. This show on Fox has cartoon characters portraying a typical American family. But really, this is far from being a cartoon. As you can see from the diagram, according to parentstv.org, this show is rated not recommended for viewers under the age of 18. And according to Dr. George Gerbner, children's TV shows contains about 20 acts of violence each hour. In fact, the chart shows an average of total sexual violence and foul language incidents per hour by networks in year. As you can see, Fox is leading in the acts of violence, the incidents per hour. I can remember growing up watching Sesame Street or Barney and passing that on to my kids. These shows help you learn your ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. When was the last time you watched television with your kids? Were you surprised to see what kinds of cartoons your children were watching? Well, let's explore some of the problems that result from the violence on TV. First, the children tend to act out in aggressive and harmful ways. For the symptoms, fighting with other classmates or talking back to the teacher. They sometimes imitate what they see on TV, and for example, the 3rd grade students that I mentioned before. According to Dr. Leonard Eron, PhD at University of Illinois, children who watched many hours of TV violence when they were in elementary school tend to show higher levels of aggressive behavior when they became teenagers. Another symptom is bullying other kids, or in reverse, scared of their environment. Do you know, according to kidshealth.org, studies have shown that teens who watch a lot of sexual content on TV are more likely to initiate intercourse or participate in other sexual activities earlier than kids that don't watch these shows. This can lead to teenage pregnancy or even juvenile delinquency. It's not just the kids that are affected, it is society as a whole. These are several consequences. There are several consequences to acting out violence on TV. The most important is going to jail. Instead of graduating from high school or college, they graduate to the big house. The only solution is for parents to get more involved in what kinds of TV shows your kids are watching. At dinner time, talk to them about what they are watching. Explain that this stuff on TV is not real. To solve some of the problems, parents can take the television out of the bedrooms, put parental controls on TV, encourage reading books or playing board games. This could be quality time for the whole family, and it won't cost a thing. By doing these things, we can help rear our children into becoming well-maintained children that turn into well-mannered and very productive adults, which in turn promotes a healthy society. So in conclusion, let's make a difference in our kids' lives. Stop the change of violence on TV and in our kids. Take violence out of the living rooms and our bedrooms. Again, it is important to monitor what our kids are watching on television, because violence on TV can harm the way our young men and young women grow up to become law-abiding adults. And if for some reason they do come across violence on television, explain to them that this is not real. For the actors on TV. Let's be kind to one another. Take a stand on violence on TV and in real life.